Welcome to Business Decoded, where we break down how companies really make money. Let's decode today's business model. Amazon Web Services generates $100 billion per year, and most people have never heard of it. Oz is the invisible infrastructure running the internet. Every AI company runs on AWS. OpenAI, Anthropic, Stability AI, all train models on Amazon's cloud. Oz is the hidden monopoly powering the AI revolution. Amazon is known for e-commerce. You order products, Amazon delivers them. But AWS generates more profit than all of Amazon's retail business combined. 60% of Amazon's operating income comes from cloud infrastructure nobody sees. Amazon Retail is giant loss leader subsidized by AWS profits. By the end of this video, you'll understand how AWS became the invisible engine running every AI company, why cloud infrastructure is more profitable than e-commerce, and whether AWS's dominance can be challenged. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This content is for educational purposes only, not business or investment advice. Company references are from public sources for educational commentary. Trademarks belong to their owners. Consult qualified professionals before making business decisions. Here's how AWS became the hidden AI monopoly. AWS launched in 2006 offering cloud computing infrastructure. Instead of companies buying servers and running data centers, they rent computing from Amazon. Pay only for resources used. Scale up or down instantly. This was revolutionary. Before AWS, startups needed hundreds of thousands for servers and infrastructure before launching products. AWS eliminated capital expenditure. Rent computing power monthly. Start small, scale as you grow. This enabled entire generation of startups that couldn't exist without cloud infrastructure. AWS grew quietly while Amazon Retail dominated headlines. By 2015, AWS was generating billions in revenue. By 2024, $100 billion annually. Oz is now larger revenue business than Netflix, Uber, or Airbnb. It's just invisible to consumers. The business model is usage-based pricing. Customers pay for compute hours, storage gigabytes, and data transfer. Pricing is complex with thousands of different services and configurations. Enterprise customers negotiate contracts, but pricing fundamentals remain consumption-based. AWS has 32% market share in cloud infrastructure. Microsoft Azure has 23%. Google Cloud has 10%. Oz is the leader but not a monopoly. However, for AI workloads specifically, AWS dominance is stronger because they invested early in GPU infrastructure. AI models require massive GPU clusters for training. GPUs are specialized chips designed for parallel processing. Training GPT-4 scale model requires thousands of GPUs running for months. Only cloud providers have this infrastructure available on demand. AWS offers GPU instances optimized for AI training. Customers rent powerful GPU servers by the hour. OpenAI reportedly spends tens of millions monthly on AWS compute for model training. Anthropic, Stability AI, and numerous AI startups run entirely on AWS infrastructure. The dependency is mutual. AI companies need AWS compute. AWS needs AI companies as customers generating massive consumption. As AI grows, AWS revenue grows proportionally. Every dollar spent training AI models flows to AWS, Microsoft, or Google. AWS profit margins are extraordinary. Operating margins around 30%. For comparison, Amazon Retail operates at 5% margins. AWS makes $60 billion in revenue with $20 billion in operating profit. Amazon Retail makes $400 billion revenue with $20 billion operating profit. Same profit from 1/6 the revenue. The margin advantage comes from economies of scale. AWS operates massive data centers globally. Fixed costs spread across millions of customers. Each additional customer costs almost nothing to serve while generating incremental revenue. Software scales infinitely. Infrastructure depreciates over years while revenue compounds. AWS also benefits from Amazon Retail infrastructure. They built massive computing infrastructure to run Amazon's e-commerce platform. AWS monetizes excess capacity by renting it to external customers. Development costs are shared. Retail and cloud reinforce each other. The competitive moat is switching costs and ecosystem lock-in. Once companies build applications on AWS, migration to Azure or Google Cloud is expensive and risky. APIs differ. Services are incompatible. Data transfer costs are high. Customers stay on AWS because leaving is painful. AWS also offers hundreds of specialized services beyond basic compute. Databases, machine learning tools, analytics platforms, security services. The more services customers use, the deeper the lock-in. Migrating one service is manageable. Migrating entire technology stack is nearly impossible. Microsoft Azure competes by integrating with Microsoft's enterprise products. Companies using Office 365 and Windows Server prefer Azure for seamless integration. Google Cloud competes on AI and data analytics. But AWS maintains market leadership through first-mover advantage and ecosystem depth. For AI specifically, AWS has crucial partnerships. They offer exclusive access to certain chip types. They provide credits and support to AI startups. They invest in AI companies who become large customers. This creates a virtuous cycle reinforcing AWS dominance in AI infrastructure. The existential risk is antitrust regulation. AWS controlling 32% of cloud market could trigger regulatory action. Breaking up Amazon might separate AWS from retail. This could unlock value but also eliminate synergies between businesses. Another risk is competitors catching up technologically. If Azure or Google Cloud offer superior AI infrastructure at lower prices, customers will switch despite friction. Technological differentiation in cloud computing is narrow. Better tools or cheaper prices can overcome switching costs. The cost structure risk is rising. Building new data centers requires tens of billions. NVIDIA GPUs are expensive and supply constrained. Energy costs are increasing. If infrastructure costs rise faster than prices AWS can charge, margins compress. This hasn't happened yet, but it's possible. For customers, AWS dependency is strategic vulnerability. Single vendor risk is real. AWS outages take down major portions of the internet. Pricing power increases over time as switching costs grow. Customers want alternatives, but migration is too painful. The bull case is AI growth drives exponential AWS revenue increase. Every AI company scales on AWS infrastructure. Amazon's retail subsidizes AWS infrastructure investment. AWS maintains market leadership and 30% margins permanently. Cloud becomes the most profitable business in technology. The bear case is competition intensifies and margins compress. Azure and Google Cloud match AWS capabilities. Customers multi-cloud to reduce dependency. Price wars erode profitability. AWS becomes commodity infrastructure with single-digit margins. The golden age of cloud profits ends. The realistic case is AWS maintains leadership with slowly eroding margins. Competition exists, but switching costs preserve market share. Margins decline from 30% to 20% over decade. Still incredibly profitable but less dominant. AI growth is real but benefits all cloud providers, not just AWS. For Amazon shareholders, Oz is the crown jewel. It generates more profit than retail with higher growth and better margins. If Amazon split into two companies, AWS might be worth more than retail despite lower revenue. For the internet, AWS is invisible monopoly powering everything. Most successful startups run on AWS. When AWS fails, major websites go down. Concentration of internet infrastructure in 3 companies is systemic risk few understand. Now, next time on Business Decoded, we're examining DoorDash. Why it takes 30% of every order and restaurants can't quit. AWS generates $100 billion revenue annually with 30% operating margins. $20 billion in operating profit from cloud infrastructure. Larger profit than Amazon retail despite 6 times less revenue. 32% market share in cloud computing. Dominates AI infrastructure with GPU clusters powering OpenAI, Anthropic, and Stability AI. AI companies spend tens of millions monthly on AWS compute. Business model is usage-based pricing for compute, storage, and data transfer. Switching costs and ecosystem lock-in create competitive moat. Hundreds of specialized services deepen customer dependency. Competition from Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud, but AWS maintains leadership. Risk is antitrust regulation or competitors catching up technologically. Either AI growth drives exponential revenue or competition compresses margins. Invisible monopoly powering the internet and AI revolution. More profitable than retail, making AWS Amazon's crown jewel. And that's how they built it. If this helped you understand business better, subscribe for weekly deep dives into the world's most successful companies. Thanks for watching.